Hi peoples, this is Taconostro's Caldron of Everything, part 1, mainly about bombs. It's a little weird, so here's a quick start video. It's got this nuke type of card. It's called a Selfplay card, so called because if it's in the deck and you draw the card on top of it, well, you get to keep the card like normal, or if it's a kitten, you defuse it, but then this card flips over and whatever it does happens. So there's 3 main types of these cards. First one, it's called Event Card. They got the 2 bars on top. I did a different art style for each so you could tell them apart. These happen right away. So maybe you gotta diffuse something, maybe you give it to somebody else, maybe you get something, but it happens. Then we got items. These are a tool that goes in front of you. You keep it, you use it when you want to. There's some limits. Some have to be used on your turn, some to be used at any time. Some can be used when you're dead. And then lastly, we got planes, which are a meta rule, and they'll be in the next part, so you'll learn about them then. We also have got tokens. These are little indicators. They don't do anything per se. You don't put them in the deck. They're just nice. They're also double-sided. They mark things. So this is a turn counter. This is a discard pile. Just hopeful to have. With self-play cards, when you're seeing or altering the future, or most cards that modify the deck, they stick to the card in front of them. So if you're going to see the future, you get the 3 cards you would see, plus any self-play cards that would stick to them, that are in them or under them. So both of these. We got the 3 regular cards and then the 2 self-play cards. And then if you're altering the future, they also stick to the card in front of them. So like this kitten coin defuse, targeted attack, those are stuck together. So if you moved it, you'd have to move them as a set. You couldn't separate them out. Items, when they are in front of you, they can be stolen. And a quirk of them is that they are like a marked card. You know, a marked card is outwards, you can steal it. An item, you can also steal. Another thing is that events, some of them are like an Exploding Kitten, but they don't actually go back in the deck when diffused. Like UPS Kitten is an Exploding Kitten you give to somebody else. The big thing is they'd be too horrible if you had them every single time. So even if you defuse them, they're done. They go in the discard, you don't have to worry about them again. One way to use this, these are all pretty powerful cards, so they're intended to be used as like kind of a cauldron thing. You shuffle this deck up, draw a few of the cards, shuffle it into the main deck. You don't use every single card every single time, because that would just be horrible with some of the cards that are in here. You can, it's up to you. You could also just choose 5 or 6 or 7 cards, play with those. You can use this however you want. If there's a card you don't like, you can pull it out and stop playing with it. Alright, let's talk about what these cards actually do. First, the items. We got ADHD Kitten, one of my favorite arts. This you diffuse or explode like a regular kitten, but you could also discard a card and pass it to another player. Any living player. And then they could discard a card and pass to somebody else if they wanted to. And so it's kind of just a passing war until somebody finally bites the bullet and decides to diffuse it or explode. UPS Kitten. This is like an Exploding Kitten, but you give it to somebody else. You say, here Dave, have an Exploding Kitten, and he has to deal with it. Then we got Cluster Kitten. This is an Exploding Kitten. It targets 3 people. You and the players on either side. Only one of you has to defuse it, or all 3 of you explode. If 2 people play defuse at the same time, well, you both lost it. You also only have 15 seconds, so if you don't defuse it within then, well, you're all dead. So, fun times. Alright, Mysterious Device. You flip this card like a coin. Back up, it's an Exploding Kitten. You gotta defuse it. Face up, you get to keep it like an item. It's a diffuse, so it could be good. Alright, now we got Instant Attack. This is a card that just attacks you. You have to take 3 extra turns afterwards. You can stack it with other attacks. We got Identity Theft. You take somebody else's seat and hand and items, and they get yours. Player of your choice. You still have to finish your other turns, but you now have their cards, so you're probably in a much better position than before. Fast forward. Everybody just has to draw cards. They don't get to play any. And so you just go through the deck till somebody finds a death card, like an Exploding Kitten or an Imploding Kitten, or one of these other ones that death card is just any card that has an opportunity to kill you. Duel. You and the next player are forced by me to do a trust exercise. You have to each give each other diffuse, but you could give another card, a kitten card, whatever worthless card you want to dump on the other person. The only downside is after trading cards, you flip them over, and if neither of you actually gave a diffuse, you both have to diffuse or explode. Witch Hunt. This is a votable Exploding Kitten. Everybody discards as many cards they want to vote for whichever players they want. You can put as many cards on one player, on different players. Every discarded card counts as a vote. The player with the most votes has to diffuse or explode. If there's a tie, multiple people have the same number, well, they both have to diffuse or explode. So, fun times. Finally, Blackmail Racket. Embarrassing picture. You gotta pay 2 cards, or you explode and you can't be brought back to life. So, oh well for the zombie kitten. Those 2 cards go back under this blackmail payments pile on the side and just kind of sit there. And the Blackmail Racket goes back to the deck for somebody else. If you get killed by it, you keep the card as a sign of your defeat, and it doesn't go back in the deck. Okay, items. First off, the Lost Dossier. This defeats the Blackmail Racket. If it's in the deck, you pull it out, you shuffle the deck, it's gone. You also get all the cards under this Blackmail Racket. So if a bunch of people have been paying the Blackmail Racket, you get all these payments. So pretty lucrative income, that is. Another lucrative income, local funeral home. Everybody who dies has to give you 2 cards from their hand, either cards or items, and they get to choose, but you can request them. This is something you can also keep doing when you die. So even if you're dead, you can collect cards, and then if you get resurrected, well, now you got a bunch of cards. Ring Papa, skip ×5.